All right, guys, well, why don't we go ahead and dive into it? I'm assuming you guys know what foreclosures are. I'm going to go over kind of a little bit about me. For those of you guys I haven't met, my name is Roddy Jr. I'm co-owner of DFW Investors. I got my grant from my dad, who owns foreclosure listing service. I went to my first auction 23 years ago. So my first courthouse auction, I got the bug. I've missed 2 auctions in 23 years. So I'm familiar on how to prepare to buy on the courthouse steps. Both the 2 times I've missed was because of my wife. I blame her, okay? One was our anniversary, or excuse me, our wedding. Yes, and so we got married and then we went on our honeymoon, so I couldn't miss that. That was on the first Tuesday, and then our 15th wedding anniversary. So those are great causes, and I love missing those 2 auctions. But what I'm going to try to do is just kind of go over a quick overview of how to prepare, maybe just a general overview about foreclosures, just so you guys have some foundational items, and then dive into kind of the 9 to 11 things that I think you need to do in preparation for the auction. So you guys can kind of look down. I'm going to be looking at this presentation. This is kind of what the auction looks like for those of you who haven't been to the courthouse auction. There's a lot of people standing around, 1 or 2 bidders or trustees. You'll have someone out the bottom right, a trustee reading what I call crying a sale. And you have a lot of people that are trying to listen to figure out, A, what is he selling or she's selling, and B, is it a property that I'm interested in, and C, is it a good deal? A lot of you guys I see aren't prepared to buy on the courthouse steps, and I'm going to try to help you tonight. The main thing I want to make sure you guys understand is, what are you buying on the courthouse steps? You're not necessarily buying the house, you're buying the lien, which is a debt on the house. Does that make sense? The question is, what lien are you buying? Because there could be several different types of liens. There could be first liens. You could be buying a first lien, like a FHA mortgage. You could be buying a mechanics lien, which is probably not the primary position. You could be buying HOA dues. So you're buying a debt. I want you to understand that any lien that you buy on the courthouse steps, any of them, whether you buy a first lien, a second lien, or a third lien on the steps, that gives you ownership. Now, I didn't say that gives you ownership free and clear. I just said you own the property, but then you might have to pay off you might inherit other liens. But you do have the right to occupy. You have the right to evict on any debt that you buy on the courthouse steps. A loan is a type of lien. Most of the properties that are being foreclosed on are being foreclosed on a loan. Okay? An FHA, a Fannie Mae, a VA loan. The lender has the right to force the owner to sell their house because they put up their house as collateral and they agreed, if I don't pay you guys, you can force the sale. And that's what foreclosure is. It's because someone didn't live up to their end of the bargain. All right, let's discuss Texas, kind of the overview of the procedures. 90% of the properties that are posted on a monthly basis are residential. 10% are commercial and dirt or land. But 90% of the postings are residential. There are 2 auctions, Barlow, that you can attend every month. You have a trustees auction, and that is where you can buy someone's delinquent mortgage, or that's where you can buy an HOA lien. Or you can go, usually at the same location, but sometimes different, go to the constable or sheriff's auction. That is where you're buying someone's unpaid taxes or property taxes, right? So there's 2 auctions that you need to decide, which way am I going? Am I going to go buy someone's delinquent mortgage, or am I going to buy someone's delinquent property taxes? Either way, the auction is held on the first Tuesday of the month. Rain or shine, holiday or not, I've been there on the 4th of July, and I've been there on New Year's Day. The courthouse is closed on both those holidays, but it doesn't matter. The auction still prevails. The auction occurs, the courthouse is closed, we're going to be outside regardless. Now, just kind of, your handout has a couple of fields where Dallas, Karen, I just wanted to give you kind of a number to think about. In Dallas County, we're averaging about 450 postings per month, on average. Now, in 2010, we were averaging 2,000 a month. So you heard Mr. Kramer, Bill, talk about we're in a much better place than we were in 2009. I mean, it was pretty bad. We were looking at 2,000 properties a month posted in Dallas County. Now it's down to 400, 450. Tarrant County is 300 a month. Collin County is 100 a month. And Denton County is 100 a month. So there's not 1,000 of these like there were 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Okay? I just want you guys to understand that some of you guys are not interested in buying foreclosure, some are very interested. There's 3 ways to buy real estate, whether it's a foreclosure property or not. Mike, the first way I'm going to try to acquire real estate is before an auction. Just in general. There's 3 ways to buy a house. Before an auction, at an auction, after an auction. There's, Carlos, something that you list a house of mine tomorrow, that's before an auction. Carlos, you go down with cashier's checks on April 5th at the next auction, that's at the auction. And Carlos, if the property is not foreclosed, if no one buys the property on the courthouse steps, who's going to buy it? If you don't buy it, the bank's going to buy it. So that it now is an REO, bank-owned property. That's after the auction. There's 3 ways I'm trying to buy this real estate at a discount. Before, I deal with a homeowner. At, I deal with the trustee. I don't need to deal with a homeowner at the auction. All I need to find is the person who's crying the property at the auction. And then after the auction, I'm either going to be trying to buy the property from an investor or the bank, or the bank's representative. So I just wanted you guys to always think about that when you're contemplating buying real estate. The genesis of a foreclosure, I've given you 6 different stages. When I bought my first house, I did not pay cash. I went to CTX Mortgage, Roddy Anderson. Have y'all heard of him? Yeah, Roddy, he loaned me I heard him on the radio, and I basically went to his office on a Saturday. I said, Rodney, I want to buy this house. My wife, I was out of town. She found a Fannie Mae foreclosure. And it really wasn't, this house was not up to me to buy, right? Me being the guru, and we were going to buy this house. So we basically put an offer on this Fannie Mae foreclosure. It had already gone through the foreclosure process. We made an offer. It wasn't a steal. And I went to Roddy Anderson. I said, hey, I've got X amount of cash. Will you loan me the rest? He said, absolutely. And when we closed, that loan was originated. Y'all understand that? A loan was originated. Things are great. And that's what people have. I just wanted to go through the steps. Life is good. People are current. They're making their mortgage payments. And then in stage 3, you have a default. In between, I want y'all to draw a line on your sheet. Draw a vertical line in between current and default. And I want you to label that hardship. Because a hardship occurred, right? Yeah. What's an example of a hardship? All at once. Let's do it all at once. An illness. Someone got sick and they decided to pay for medication instead of their mortgage. I'm on board with that. You only have one life. You can always find another house. What's another? Divorce. They made it on 2 incomes, now they're on 1. It's a hardship. What's another? Job loss. So those are the main 3, guys. Job loss, divorce, health. That's the hardship. And that's what leads to people going into default. Then in between default and foreclosure, y'all can write 8 to 12 months. Daniel, most lenders aren't going to foreclose on their neighbor because they're 1 or 2 months behind. lenders will wait, and they'll try to work with your neighbor to get them back on track for 6 to 7 to 8 months. Does that make sense? So just understand, most people in foreclosure, they're not 1 or 2 months behind. They're 6, 8, and when the market was tough, Barlow, back in 2010 and 9, I was seeing people that hadn't made a payment in 3 years. And it took the lender that much time. Because the market is much stronger now, lenders are not waiting 3 years to post properties for foreclosure, okay? So what happens is someone falls behind 6 months. Now legally, guys, I've personally seen, and I've spoken to homeowners in foreclosure that were 2 months behind and posted for foreclosure. It's not beyond a lender to post your neighbor if they're 1 or 2 months. I've seen some lenders wait. I approached a homeowner and they said and I was approaching them to see if they wanted to sell their house. So I solicited them. They said, absolutely, George, we're interested in selling our house. I said, great. How much cash would you like? I mean, what would be good? If I gave you a check for $15,000, and they were like, absolutely. Well, I was thinking, Barlow, their payoff was X. I then got the payoff from their lender, and I found out that they were 10 years behind. They had not made a payment in 10 years. Now, their payoff number was a little different, Barlow, than I thought. Like, I had advertised it at 8 months. I went to them and I said, what have y'all been doing? Well, I mean, I know we're behind. I'm like, 10 years? Who is this mortgage company? I know the best mortgage I get. All right. So what happens is the properties are posted for foreclosure, and then if one of these 4 things doesn't happen, and I'm talking about what, y'all need to understand that homeowners have options. Just because they're posted for foreclosure doesn't mean that's it. A homeowner facing foreclosure has 5 options. Number 1, work with your current lender. They're mad at you, but they still might work something out with you to stop or postpone the auction. I think 30% of people that are facing foreclosure finally try to do something with their lender once it's posted. I think 2% of people are able to find a new lender. Do we have any RMLOs in here, loan officers? I know we have a vendor. Raise your hand if you're a lender in here. We don't have one lender. Okay, that's cool. Well, it's tough to get a new loan. Would y'all agree? In this climate, it's tough to get a traditional loan. It's even more tough if they're not current on their mortgage for 6 to 8 months. So the likelihood that a homeowner facing foreclosure is going to get a new loan is very minimal, but it could happen. A lot of people will file bankruptcy because they find that will solve their problems. And what I found is it only postpones the problem, if that makes sense. Yeah. And then 23% will sell their house to an investor or someone before the auction, and 30% of people, that's number 5, they do nothing. And Mike, that's what shows up at the auction. So out of 100 properties in Collin County that are posted on a monthly basis, only 30 are going to show up at the auction. Y'all should know that. 70% of them are not going to see the auction light of day. Why? Because of the other 4 reasons. Because some other investor went there, or they chose to go with the bankruptcy attorney, or they worked something out with their lender. All right, those are the facts. All right. What are the 9 different types of liens or debts that you can buy on the courthouse steps? Number 1 is you can buy an FHA loan, VA loan, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loan, conventional loan, a mechanics lien. If you buy a mechanics lien, most likely, Barlow, you're buying a junior lien. Okay? I'll give you an example here in a few minutes. A home equity loan could or could not be a first. It's okay, you'll own the property, Barlow, but you won't own it free and clear if you buy a second. Does that make sense? You'll still have to pay off the first. A contract for deed is number 7. I typically do not recommend you guys ever buying a contract at the auction. you're really not sure what you're getting. And so I always stay away. It's very rare that those will be posted or show up on our report, but they do from time to time. Just stay away from contract for deeds. Homeowners assessment liens or homeowners association dues. I know of investors that are buying those, and that's not the only debt that's on the property. What I found is, they look at it as, let me ask you a question. Well, let me kind of pose the situation. You got a $250,000 house, okay? Y'all can visualize that house. There is a mortgage of $225,000, okay? So it has a little bit of equity. The homeowners association hasn't been paid, and they post that $250,000 house for foreclosure, and they're owed $5,000. Now they post the property, and it goes to the auction. The first lien has not posted. They could, but they didn't this month. And an investor buys it. Does that make sense? So does that investor own that property, yes or no? The answer is 100% yes. I didn't say that they own it free and clear. Now, if you own a $250,000 house, because I told you, whatever lien you buy at the auction, you get ownership. Do you legally have the right to rent a property you own? Yes. If you own a property, can you rent it out? Yes. So I'm seeing that investors will buy it for $5,000 and then immediately rent it and try to collect what? Rent. And they're hoping the first lien, they're trying to see how much they can make before the first forecloses. Now, if they don't make the mortgage payments, does that affect their credit? Yeah. Is the loan in their name? No. So it wouldn't affect their credit in any way, would it? So if they go 3 months, I'm not a great mathematician, but let's say they rented for $2,500 a month. After 2 months, they've broken even. And after the 3rd month, they've made money. A $5,000 investment in 3 months makes you $2,500, which is 50%. Again, I'm not a mathematician, but that's 50% on their money in 3 months. And they use little ploys to postpone the auction. They'll get an attorney and they'll file some, I don't know, but I'm seeing that's what some investors are doing at the auction with Homeowners Association. If there wasn't a mortgage, then Marlo, you own the property free and clear, right? I mean, if there's not a mortgage, Homeowners Association, now I will tell you that in Texas, there's what's called a redemption period. Have y'all heard of that? Yes. Where the former homeowner can buy the property back from the investor at the auction. And that period of time is 180 days after the auction. So you just have to look at that. Number 9 are tax loans. Have y'all heard of these? Mr. Kramer mentioned that back before 2001, there's only 3 ways to get money out of your property. When you buy a property, when you do what was it? What were the 3? Were y'all listening? I was, but I just had a block. Repairs, yeah. So when you buy, when you repair, or when you pay property taxes, he called them ad valorem taxes. There are companies that will loan you and I money if we don't pay our property taxes. So, every year, January 31st, we owe the tax office, the tax assessor, where there's companies that will loan you money to homeowners that don't pay those. And those are called tax loans. And those are foreclosed or posted every month. And we as investors can buy those debts or that lien. Okay? If you buy one of those liens at the auction, you need to understand that one also has what's called a redemption period. So Daniel, let me just kind of paint a picture. You got a $100,000 house. There's a $90,000 mortgage that was taken out in 2010. Right? $100,000, $90,000. There's a $10,000 tax loan. that was filed in 2013. The tax loan is posted, not the mortgage, but the tax loan, and you buy it. Guys, does Daniel own this property, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Now, does he own it free and clear? I'm not getting an answer on this guy in the teal right back here. I mean, he's a no. Okay. The answer is yes. He owns it free and clear.
Oh, that's right. Taxes are reimbursed.
Did y'all hear that? If Daniel bought the $10,000 tax loan at the auction, that wipes out the $90,000 mortgage. Why? Because that loan was generated for the sole purpose of paying property taxes. That's the good news, Daniel. Here's the bad news. You can't sell this property because the former homeowner and the lien holder that got wiped out, they both have a right to pay you back. They have the right to redeem. Does that make sense?
With interest?
Yes, okay, so don't steal my thunder, Joanne. Don't you do it. You always do that. Yeah. They have the right to redeem. So they have if it was, Daniel, if you bought your neighbor's house and it was your neighbor's homestead, y'all know what I mean when I say homestead? They declared it as this is their residence. That neighbor of yours that you bought, shame on you. I mean, I know what you do, okay, it's investment. That neighbor has 2 years to redeem that property from you. Now, Daniel, you get to occupy that property. You get to rent it out. It doesn't mean that your neighbor gets to stay there for 2 years. So you have every right to rent it. How much did you pay, by the way? Okay, it's you're okay, right? The homeowner or the lender has the right to pay you back. And if they elect to pay you back, they have to pay you what you paid at the auction plus 25% interest.
Every 6 months.
It's actually a year. It's 25% per year. So if they redeem it in 3 months, Daniel, it's not prorated. They pay you a flat 25%. If they redeem it in 9 months, it's 25%. Who has the right to do this? The homeowner and the lien holder. I guarantee you within 6 months, Daniel, the lender or the lender's attorney will be sending you a letter saying, yeah, my client is JP Morgan, we're going to exercise our right to redeem. And you're like, okay. Yeah, just let me know when you have the check record ready, and I'll sign the deed back. And they're going to give you a check for $10,000 plus the 3 months that you collected in rent. You don't have to give that to JP Morgan. That goes in your wallet. Okay? That's tax loans. Are there hundreds of those posted a month? No. But all it takes, Daniel, is one for you to be on some kind of infomercial the next year. I'm kidding! I'm kidding. You would never do that. All right. And yes?
How about if you have to do some improvements to give it rent?
Oh, okay. So basically, back to Daniel, you bought that $10,000 and it wasn't in great shape. Okay, I'm just being honest. I mean, it needed paint and carpet and new locks and windows were broken. The tax code, I think it's, if y'all can't read tonight, I think it's section 32.08 of the Texas tax code, states that an investor or whoever buys the property gets all the money they paid at the auction, plus any money they come out of pocket since they've owned it to make the house habitable. It didn't say to improve the property, it said to make the house habitable. And you know, most cities nowadays, they don't want, I don't want to sound mean, but they don't want slumlords. They don't want people renting to, substandard, and so you have to make the house livable. So I just assume, hey, new paint, new carpet, new locks, insurance, mow the grass. These are all valid costs. And Daniel, you get 25% on that too.
Wow.
That's, again, don't take my word for it, 32.08 of the Texas tax code. Read that. Kind of, just digest that, okay?
50.
Yes, I didn't.
1 year after.
Okay, that's right, Mike, I forgot to say that if Daniel, they don't exercise their right to redeem within the first year, right, you bought it April 5th, 2016. April 6th of 2017, they haven't redeemed, it automatically goes to 50% if they redeem. So it's 25% per year. Now, if they don't redeem, you bought a $10,000, you paid $10,000 for a $100,000 house, right? You're going to be okay. Yes, sir.
Question. For those tax loans,
Tax loans.
why the mortgage holder, they don't go to the auction to buy it? Because that's for taxpayer income.
Yeah, okay, so your question was, why doesn't the mortgage company pay those?
Yeah.
It's because it wasn't set up as a escrowed loan in the beginning. They have every right. It's just, if you're thinking about a mortgage company, his question was, why don't the mortgage company keep track of that? Why don't they pay the back taxes? And it's just, they're just worried about their interest, even though, and they do have the right to redeem, so they'll figure it out, and they'll pay Daniel 25%. Again, I stopped asking why about 19 years ago, all right, in this business.
They don't know. They don't have any way to find out.
They could, but think about it, they have 1 million loans they're trying to process, and to try to check the account numbers for 1 million, they're not going to do it. When can you sell it? After the redemption period. So you can't bill Mr. Kramer at Republic, they won't touch your deal until after the redemption period has expired. It's 2 years. Now, Daniel, if it was not your neighbor's homestead, let's say it was an investment property of your neighbor, right? Your neighbor didn't live there, it's just a rental property. Then Texas says that that's only good for the redemption period. For your neighbor and the lender is only good for 180 days. Non-homesteaded is 180 days. Homesteaded is 2 years. All right, I got to keep on going. Look at this example. An $80,000 house, there's a $55,000 loan, 25 and 2. There's 3 debts or 3 liens, Barlow, on this property. When I add it up, it adds up to $82,000. What falls off before the auction? Do any of these liens fall off before an auction? The $55,000 lien is posted for foreclosure. Y'all follow me? I didn't tell you that, Israel. The 55 is posted. Before the auction, does the 25 and 2 fall off? No. But at the auction, Israel, the 25 and 2 will fall off. That's one of the good things about foreclosure. It will actually wipe away debt. If the $55,000 lien holder posts the property for foreclosure, then the 25 and the 2 get wiped out at the auction. Okay? If the $2,000 lien is posted, right? And the 25 and 55 are not posted, but the third lien is, if nothing gets wiped out, if the $2,000 lien is bought by you guys, you inherit the balance of the other 2. So if you buy a third, you own the property subject to the second and first. But if you bought the first, which 90% of the time is what's posted for foreclosure, by the way. 90% of the loans posted are the first. 10% of the time, it's the second or third. Do y'all understand that? So the auction is like a dishwasher. You put a dish in, 9 out of 10 times the dish is going to come out cleaner. Title is going to be clean. It's not going to get dirtier. So what falls off? Nothing falls off. What falls off at the auction? The second and third, if the first is posted. Who would contract to buy this house before the auction?
Nobody.
What?
Nobody should.
Raise your hand. We got one guy. Know-it-all back here. One person. I got 2, 3. All right, so do you mind if I call you out? The house is worth $80,000. There's $82,000 in debt. You would buy. Now the homeowner wants the good thing is the homeowner only wants $1,000 in cash, and she'll walk away. So would you write an offer to buy this house?
Yes.
You would.
Why so expensive?
Yes. Why?
So it could-
I'm giving a lot of, okay, I got it. Why would you buy that, sir?
She got first lien on it.
Because she got it first. Before the auction, how many liens fall off? So you're basically, you're gonna pay $83,000 for an $80,000 house? I mean, the homeowner, she's willing to sell it, Daniel. This is your neighbor. She's willing to sell it for $1,000. Who would buy this? In the back, you would? Why? There you go. Did y'all hear that? I'm not going to say it again. No, I'm kidding. Okay, here's what you do. Basically, you write an offer. Let's find out what the homeowner wants. How much cash do they want? $1,000. Write up an offer that you're going to give them $1,000. And then you're going to say, I'm going to pay off or settle all 3 of your liens. And the key word was settle. Do you think the second would take less than 25? If 7 days from now, how much do they get? Is it, Daniel? 0. You have more leverage. I would write up the offer, guys, and if I couldn't negotiate with the second, I would terminate my contract. But I promise you, I've been on HOA boards, and if someone said, George, we'll give you $200 for your $2,000 lien, by the way, you're going to get nothing if it goes to the auction, I'm going to say, take the $200. We'll take the $200. Because I know the laws in Texas, second and third lien holders get wiped out at the auction. But it's all how you structure the contract. Does that make sense, guys? Just think about it. Most of you guys would have passed on that. It's just how you, let's go to the second and see if they take $2,500. Because how much do they get at the auction? Right. And they know they get zipped. It's not like I have to really educate them on that. All right, turn the page. Here's some foreclosure data. I just wanted to show you on the page, I have 1, 2, and 3. So the Tamron Court, 231 Tamron Court, I just wanted to show you there's 3 ways, or there's basically 4 liens that could be posted for the same house. You have an FHA loan. Y'all see that? Up on the top right, it says FHA for $161,000 or $145,000. The second one is the same house. It's a mechanics lien for $25,000. The next one is a homeowners association fees for $3,000. And the last one is a tax loan for $15,000. Y'all know what it says TAX, what that is, Daniel? So it means if you buy the tax, it wipes out the HOA, the mechanics lien, and the FHA. But all 3 of those, Daniel, have the right to do what? Pay you. Does that make sense? If you buy the HAF, which is Homeowners Association fees, do you think you own this property free and clear? No. What I'm saying is, I think that the reason, and I'm not trying to shill our service, we're good at what we do, we sell data, right? My sister stood up here, but we had a situation this month, Cheryl, where both the first and the second lien were posted for foreclosure. Am I correct? I'm not trying to give any, it was the HOA and a mortgage were both posted for foreclosure. What you need to do is, I'd like to know that as an investor, that both the loan and the HOA, because I hate for you to buy the HOA lien at 10:30 and you own the property. And at 1 o'clock, when the mortgage shows up and forecloses, whoever buys that lien will own the property, and whoever bought the HOA lien at 10:30 will have owned the property for 3 hours. Okay? Now, I know that there's companies that put out foreclosure leads, thousands to your email. We're the only one that puts out everything, right? We basically track every posting. What some companies are doing is they will send you what's been a removal of trustee, if that makes sense. So basically, that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to show you, here's some opportunities, but you need to know how to evaluate an FHA, an FHA loan versus a mechanics loan versus an HOA versus a tax loan. Look at number 2. I'm going to dive into the tax loan borrow. I kind of swayed away from the other type of auction that occurs because I'm short on time. Right here, you got City of Louisville. So I'm now going to shift gears a little bit. City of Louisville is foreclosing on Richard Bowery in Glenda because they haven't paid $9,833 in taxes, and the property has a tax value of $60,000. At the bottom, you have another one, Louisville ISD, hasn't been paid $7,009, and it's on a $121,000 property. These are for property taxes, okay? The reason why Louisville is foreclosing on them is because they haven't been paying property taxes. Daniel, if this is your neighbor's house, it's the exact same thing as a tax loan. So Daniel, there is a loan on this property. Look, Syntex Homes Equity and rent only. It's telling you there's a loan on this property. I would suggest you do a title search to confirm that, but if you bought your neighbor's house, and let's say it starts at 10 and it goes, you bid it up to 10, or excuse me, starts at 7 and goes up to 10, you've got a $121,000 house. That's not a bad buy. You own the property, you get to rent the property. The problem is there's a redemption period, and 2 people have a right to redeem. The former homeowner, John Gilbreth, and his wife Carla, and Syntex. But you have double the chance of making 25% on your money while you're renting the property out. And if you have to change the locks, paint the door, insure the property, you're getting 25% on that too. It's not a bad investment if you ask me. And I know you did. But I assume you would. Okay. Are we bonding right now? Okay. So, the last thing that I have on this page, and then I'm going to go to the steps to prepare yourself for the auction, there's another thing that you can buy on the Courthouse, Barlow. You can buy what's called judgments. Barlow, these are not property taxes, and these typically don't wipe out anything. So you have, look at this, let me give you an example. There's really not a good one. Well, let's look at the second to last one. Cintas Corporation, $8,500. Cintas filed a judgment. They haven't been paid, so they're suing Bruce Powell. And it's on a $16,000 property. So if you bought that, Barlow, you would own the property. And Barlow, if there are any other liens on the property, you inherit those. Does that make sense? Look at the first one. This is my favorite one. $8,931. Y'all see that? That's the judgment amount. But it's on a $3 million apartment complex. Now here's the thing. When I did a title search, I found that there was a $6 million loan on it. Okay? Y'all follow me? The properties were on the tax rolls at 3.1, but there's $6 million in debt. Would you buy this, Barlow?
Yes.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Barlow, but we got to end this in the next, 2 minutes. You would?
Yes.
There you go. Did you hear that, Barlow? So, there was an investor who bought that judgment, that $3 million apartment complex. And he paid $9,000. Did he own that apartment complex? Yes or no? Yes. Did he own it free and clear? But as the owner, back to my initial question 20 minutes ago, does he have the right to collect rent on that apartment complex? How many units? Can y'all tell me? It says it up there. All right. Barlow, you're the owner now. Let's pretend you bought this. It's okay for you to do what?
Rent.
Collect rent.
And increase the rent.
And lower the rent. And throw barbecue parties. I mean, Barlow, this is your apartment complex. Now, Barlow is the $6 million loan. Did you take that out?
So he's not responsible.
Did you take that out, Arlen? Did you sign for that $6 million loan? So when the loan doesn't get paid, will that hurt your credit? No. And so, let's say that you rented 50 units, right? Not even all of them, but 50 units times $500. How much is that? 50 units times $500. 25 grand, right? And how much did you pay on the courthouse steps for it? There you go. I lost a lot of y'all right there, and that's not what I was trying to do. I wanted y'all to really kind of, Marlo, especially you, ooh. All right, I needed that. I lost you. That's me bad as a teacher, okay? You're gonna do better. All right, that's all I have for that. But what I'm saying is there's opportunity where you would have done a title search, you would have seen that, man, $6 million on a $3 million property, but if you bought it on the courthouse steps, why not rent it for a couple months and make the money that way? Okay? All right, I'm going to go through these. How much time do we have, Tim? Are we already over? We got 3 minutes, right? We got 3 minutes. Here we go. All right, here's what I want you to do, prepare for the auction, Marlo. So tomorrow, actually next week, the foreclosure leads come out. So here's what I want you to do first. Number one, determine your area. Focus on your area, something that you're going to be able to drive and commit to. Number two is print out your foreclosure leads. Let's just get them out and start just looking at them and analyzing. How many do we have? Obviously, I'm partial. I want you to buy the data from us. Okay? Foreclosure.info is where you go. Number three, I like to research the title first. And here's why, guys. I don't want to spend time driving to the house if it's got a lot of clouded title or it's got a lot of liens that I feel like, you know what? Nah, I'm not going to waste my time on that. Does that make sense? Yep. I got my leads, I do a title search first, and I rule out some of the kind of the ugly title that I don't like. I do my own title searches. I don't hire Bill or Republic Title or any other title company for that matter because they're not in the title research business. Do y'all understand? Title companies are in the title insurance, not title research. I do my own title research to prepare for the auction. So I do that, number three. Then, once it passes and it has a good title, that's when I determine I'm looking at the comps, I'm looking at the house on the Bing map on Google, and I'm trying to come up with what I think, and I haven't ever seen this house, what do comps say the house is worth? And I look for comps that are in the same subdivision within 5 years in age, up or down, right? I don't want to compare a 1972 house with a 2002 house. I want something that was built around the same time and that is within 15% in size. Does that make sense? If our subject property house is 2,000, then we need to be 2,150 or 2,200 to 1,800. The next thing I do is I map out my drives. Because I'm going to drive them, or I'm going to hire somebody to drive these properties for me. You can use Google, you can use Streets and Trips, which costs $20 for that software, or you can use a free service called batchgeo.com. Okay? All you have to do is load the addresses in there and it will map it out for you. Okay? That's step 5. But how much stuff have I done outside of the office? Yes. None of this. This is all at the office. Then I jump in my car and I drive the properties. And I'm looking for really 8 things. Roof, foundation, HVAC, fence, pool, windows, exterior. And if any of you guys want this, I can email this to you. So y'all don't have to write it down. I know we're running out of time. So just, I don't know, figure out, put your business card on that table back there. And I will certainly email you for a small fee. I mean, don't worry about it. We'll talk about that. All right. Number 6 is I'm trying to evaluate the condition of the property. A lot of times I'm not able to get inside. So I'm trying to assess the condition from from the curb or from the sidewalk. What I always do is I leave a Post-it note, always on the front door. And it's just a pre-written Post-it note that says, call me. And it has my number. That's all it says. But it's pre-written, so I don't have to take the time. I just rip it off and stick it on the front door. It says, call me. And it has my number. Okay? I always do that because I'm already there. I might as well try to buy the property before the auction, even though they're probably not going to call me. Right? Number 7 is I come back to the office and I come up with my Mayo. Tim knows what this is. This is your maximum allowable offer. Barlow, I run the comps. I plug in my ERC, my estimated repair cost. I wanted to put in how much profit I wanted to make, how much closing cost I wanted to make, and it told me what I could pay at the auction. You know, I based it that I was going to own this property for 4 months. Does that make sense? But you need to come up with your Mayo. Now I've got my Mayo, that's what I'm going to pay. It doesn't matter if you go and bid for me or if I bid on the property myself. That's the Mayo. And then I'm preparing for the auction. Number 8 is I always go to our report, and some of you guys, you need to print out the report based on the auction. Y'all can go to our foreclosure site and print out, we have a report formatted directly or specifically for the auction. It's called the Auction Brief Report. As you know, trustees don't read in alphabetical order by the address. They're down, they're all over the place, so you really need to hone in on formatted by the trustee's last name, right? And then all the properties that they have by the borrower's last name. Because within 5 seconds, the trustee will say the borrower's name. Within the first 5 seconds, yes, sir.
The trustee's the person yelling the cry.
That's the crier. So we got to find the crier. Step 9 is the day of sale. Find the person, the lady in the middle of that picture. Who is she? What does Kathy Lee look like? What does Pat Stevens look like? I mean, you're just going to have to get there and ask. The good thing is, sir, that one of our staff in Dallas-Fort Worth, we're there. So I've been there for the last 23 years. You give me any name, pretty much in any county, I'm going to know them. And I'm going to know where they stand, and I'm going to know their idiosyncrasies. Our staff has been there. So again, whether you buy or rate or not, we're there to help people at the auction. So ask an FLS. FLS stands for Foreclosure Listing Service. Step 10 is bidding. I see so many people, not all the time, but they bid more than they should. Just bid $1 more. You might, Barlow, be the only one bidding. Even though there's 10 people around, you might be the only one that actually has money in their pocket. So if the auction year starts off at 151 guys that represent Bank of America, our opening bid is $151,317. Do I have any other bids? Going once, twice, Barlow, you need to say $1 more. I bid $1 more. Sir, we can't accept $1 more bid. Then I bid $151,301. That's my bid. Going once, 151,301 once, twice. Sold to this gentleman for $151,301. The sale is contingent on this gentleman delivering funds in the next 5 minutes. Guys, y'all need to have the cashier's checks on you. There are no lines of credits. There's no bank cards, no checks, no cash. Trustees don't want to show up. They don't want to handle your cash. They want cashier's checks made payable to yourself and in different denominations. So Barlow, you show up with $100,000, have it broken up into 5, 10,000, and 225s. That way you can give the trustee as close. You're going to pay 151, so you got to give them more than 151.3. And they'll give you your change back a few weeks later. So when you win the bid, there's 4 things you need to do. Endorse each cashier's check over to the law firm. It's very important. Number B, get a contact name for who handles after the auction. Like, you're handing this $150,000 to someone, you need to get a contact name and number, right? Seems important. Yeah. And they're skipping away, and you're like, why are they skipping? he is drive to the property. Hey, my partner's sitting, yeah, we're the new owners, so introduce yourself.
My boss.
My boss, yes,
Don't
my
shoot.
boss. So that's kind of in 5 minutes or in 20 minutes, a little bit about foreclosures. Do I have any questions? Do I have any questions?
So I have a question.
Yes,
Are you done?
I am done. I'm done. So I don't have time for any questions.
No, you do.
Okay.
So I just want to tell everyone, it's 5:09.
Yeah.
In 10 minutes, we're going to start the Shark Tank. So if you're in the audience and you have a deal that you would like to talk about, and not just talk to us, but talk to everyone else in the room, we would love to hear about it. If you know of a deal, you can talk to us about that. Or if you're just looking for a deal, you should stay in here to listen to other people talk about their deals.
How they pitch.
But for the next 10 minutes, you can ask George questions or go grab a beer and come back, whatever. George, you can take questions.
Thank you. All right.